Welcome to Industry Thought Leader Podcast. Stand out, be heard, influence. Want to influence real change with your message while become known as an authority in your field? Industry Thought Leader Podcast will show you how. Now, over to your host, Annemarie Cross.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Industry Thought Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Annemarie Cross, also known as the Podcasting Queen. Now, my guest today says invest in your ability to successfully DIY. And joining me on today's show is Chantal Gerardy. Now, after moving from the Gold Coast to South Africa 11 years ago, Chantal used Facebook to grow a successful business. She's got over 20 years of experience in the health and fitness industry. She's managed and owned others and, of course, her own centers as well in that industry. And she began to specialize in Facebook marketing about 5 years ago. And she now teaches business owners how to get clients, how to create opportunities and grow their business using Facebook. So all things Facebook today, and specifically how you can get fast results from Facebook, how to outsmart the algorithm, and how to grow your fan page without paying for ads. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. It's interesting, and you probably get this a lot too, Chantal, is that you talk to people and they'll either love Facebook or they hate Facebook, and sometimes kind of, not really in between. So great to be diving in. What would you say is one of the biggest ahas that you see people having when you start to speak to them about the money and the opportunities that they're leaving on the table because they're not leveraging Facebook to the fullest?
I think mostly it's just the lack of understanding. Many people think that when they're on the platform, they think that they're using it correctly and they think that that's how it works and they think they're doing it right. And it's just because they don't really fully understand the full capabilities of the platform, how to use it, and how to use it in their business specifically, because it's not a cookie cutter thing. So one of the things they may do is copy what other people are doing, or if they see, someone else is doing a 3-day challenge and then leading people into here and has a public group and a private group, and they go and they set all these things up, but they're not fully aware of how to use that particular system or funnel or strategy. And it may not even be right for their business. For me, the biggest aha moment, I suppose, is when business just take a step back and go, well, hold on a sec, let's have a look at my business and how I can best position my business on Facebook in the simplest and most effective way. So I don't have to do everything. I just need to do what's right for my business, and it's going to get me a result.
Yeah, so powerful. And I think that's across any strategy or any tactic that we're using in our business. Sometimes we try and do all the things and we do nothing well, or we're not looking at it through the lens of, well, what's my business? Who is my ideal client? Would you say that Facebook, because of a lot of the changes that it brings in, you obviously need to be very mindful about technology, the uses, the terms of service, all of that. But also, let me ask you to share more about the consumer behavior, because we need to be aware of what's going on in Facebook, the type of consumers that are really congregating there. Have you noticed that changing, particularly of what's going on in the world today?
Yes, definitely. Facebook use is actually up by 70% at the moment. So due to COVID and due to people losing their jobs or having their jobs cut back and spending a lot more time at home, their use is actually up by 70%. Now, a while back, Facebook said that a lot of people said that Facebook may not stick around. So a lot of people didn't want to invest in their ability to understand it or to use it because they thought it was something that was just going to pass by. But we can look at Facebook and what they're doing, and you can go, they are here to stay. They're a big player and they're not going anywhere. For example, I don't know if you saw, but they launched this morning Facebook Shops, which now means that online shops can be embedded into the 4 platforms now owned by Facebook. So Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. So it's not going anywhere. Facebook is taking over absolutely everything. And with that, more people are coming across to it. So in the olden days, which was just like yesterday, people would go, it was sort of an older demographic. Then Facebook went and they integrated Facebook pages. So that Facebook story. So when they integrated Facebook story, that brought in the younger demographic, the people that like the pages and the stickers. So Facebook is trying to monopolize and bring those customers in. So now, in fact, there's actually a much wider range of users using the platform.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you mentioned a number of different things there, other platforms, and as we know, Facebook is also owns Instagram. And so do you see that when people are using an integrated strategy, so they're across a number of those platforms and they're leveraging the messenger, the groups, the pages, you're finding better results? Or obviously we're going to talk about some of those fast results, but using across and leveraging the platform and what it offers, or specifically some of the components of Facebook? Or does it depend on what business? Share a little bit about what you've seen.
Yeah, sure. Look, definitely if it's an e-commerce site, you want to be across and simply be across everywhere because it's product-based. You're trying to sell products. So going across all platforms and where your ideal client is obviously important. Yeah. Now, for sort of business owners that are service-based business owners, if they one-man bands or they small to medium-sized businesses with maybe 1 or 2 staff, the reality is that they're not going to have the infrastructure all the time available to be investing in multiple platforms. So what I encourage them to do is look where their ideal client is and then invest in that platform and get to know it super well and use it to its full capabilities, follow your strategy on there, and by all means then start to diversify and go across to the others. Now, I'm not saying don't have the other accounts. Still, you should have branding consistency across the other platforms, and you should be respecting those platforms, which a lot of people don't do, so they go against the algorithm. But I do believe that if you're a small business, then you really should just be investing in doing one thing and one thing well. And well is getting actual clients. Well is not just getting engagement.
Yes. I mean, you can have, that's what I say to people, you can have, thousands and tens of thousands, even millions of podcast downloads, but if they're not, being nurtured into paying customers, why bother? So, I mean, it's important because if you're not getting any engagement, your content strategy may need a bit of an overhaul. So you mentioned that because now that Facebook has integrated stories, they're bringing more of a demographic, a younger demographic. Who would you say is currently really hanging out using Facebook as a platform? Can you kind of share a bit more about the demographics and what you're seeing?
Definitely more female users than male users, just because females are more social than men. Look, I would say it used to be sort of from 35 plus. However, now, as I said, because they are using things like the stories and now they've got marketplace, they really are attracting more younger people on. I would still say probably less of the under 25s. So I would say probably 25 plus.
Yeah, fantastic. And by the way, I know that we've got a number of different platforms that we're streaming live on. If you have a question for Chantal and you'd love to ask that, leave it in the comment below. And I believe we're also now being able to incorporate LinkedIn comments too, which is very exciting. We haven't been able to do that. So, all right, let's dive in, Chantal. How can we get some fast results from Facebook? What are the things that we need to know?
Awesome. Well, grab your pens and paper because these are the 8 fundamentals of Facebook. And these are the 8 things that, believe it or not, I believe that if you do not do these 8 things, you will fail. So when I work with a client, these are the first 8 things that we will go through. And many of it actually doesn't involve using Facebook. So, but if you don't do them, your Facebook will fail. So it's really super interesting. Got my notes here because else I'll waffle. So number 1 is first knowing who you are and how you want to be seen online. And people go, I just want to be online. But your safety, your privacy, your online presence, your reputation is super important. So maybe that's the South African me coming through, going to safety. But you want to make sure that when you are on there that you have established your personal branding. You already have an awareness of how public or private you want to be and you know how to manage the platform to do that. So that's my number 1. And number 2 is you have to know who your ideal client is. And most people go, everyone's my ideal client, but that's not entirely true. What we found in social media is that fluff doesn't work. So if you are general and you talk generally to everybody, and you posing a general solution to a general problem, you're less likely to get people to actually commit to what it is that you are offering. So we have to know that ideal client intimately, and even stalk them online so that we can understand some of their behaviors so we can develop a meaningful relationship with them. jump in anytime you want.
Yeah, no, keep going. We've got 8 to get through and a lot of other questions.
Sure. So number 3 is your branding. And we want consistency across all platforms, like I spoke about earlier. So you want branding consistency. And when we talk about that, we talk about colors and fonts, and your images. But what I like to bring to the table as well is your key messaging, meaning that your language and your key messages, the values or the things that you consistently passionate about, or your mission statements need to be consistent as well, so that you can start to develop a brand like McDonald's on Facebook, so that you can be memorable. So you're not chopping and changing all the time, but there is consistency. Number 4 then is your competition. So what I recommend everyone to do, and this is one of the most underutilized strategies, and it's free, jump on and go and find people who are doing what it is that you are doing or are hoping to do. Stalk them, have a look at their key messaging, have a look at their branding, look at their services, their pricing, their offers, look at their content, their reviews, the type of engagement that they get, their call to actions, track their customer journeys. And we're doing this not so that we can copy them. We're doing it so that we can learn and we can help differentiate ourselves online from what it is that they are doing. Number 5 then is to actually have a strategy. So starting with the end in mind, going, what am I hoping to achieve? And it has to be a financial value at the end, else all that time that you're spending on there is resulting in nothing. So what are you hoping to achieve? How many clients per day, per month? How many products? What value is that? Where are those clients? How are we going to get them to buy that? How many do we need to sell? So we actually need to have kind of like a little business strategy and a social media plan to be able to execute it. And as I said, it starts with the end in mind, whereas a lot of people go in and they start with the front and they just go, here, buy from me, and they just spit it all out over Facebook.
Yeah.
We're on number 6. Number 6 is the R's, review and respond. So a lot of the time people go and they post and they write things on there, but then don't respond. And the thing about it is that we are developing these relationships, and people don't just give you their money. They want trust first, and they want to like you first, and they want to be certain that this is for them. So when you ignore them, it's like going on a date and just not talking to someone, not answering their questions.
Blank face.
Chances are you're not going to get a second date. So
No.
You might want to respond, because often leads are left at the table because of that. But the other R is review, meaning that at the end of each week, you should be reviewing your strategy and going, is this working? Is it not working? What is working? Why is it working? Who's engaging? Who's not engaging? And you can do that by obviously looking at your insights, but then going and making some of those changes so that we can have a look at our ideal clients and have a look at our strategy. Is it working, and what can we do to make it better? And number 7 is being able to get them the hell off Facebook. So as much as I love Facebook, we have to be sensible here. Facebook's trying to keep everything in Facebook, and they've shown us that by having appointment systems, and now they're trying to take money through Facebook. They don't want us using extra outside platforms. However, the one rule for a business owner for Facebook is actually to catch somebody's email address. So to catch a prospect's email address, somebody who actually is potentially interested in what you're offering, your ideal client, it's to it's to get their email address. So that is our goal. So that way we can nurture them off of Facebook. So if Facebook does blow up, you still have access to them. You can still nurture them, and you can still touch them through other ways, through other platforms and other ways. And the last one, number 8, is to have a professional profile. And this is your personal profile as well as your business page, because just like you're going on Facebook and stalking your competitors and stalking your ideal clients, guess what? They're doing the same thing to you. They're having a look at your professionalism. They're having a look at your images, your content, your photos. And, if you don't have it set up that on your personal profile that, this is your business, then it looks a little bit dodgy, and it's just putting that uncertainty in people, so they're less likely to commit to you. So have a professional profile that you feel safe using.
Yeah, all of those 8 are fantastic, and I love the number 6. Let's have a look. I love all of them, but the 5th one, strategy, have the end in mind. That's something that I'll always say to people, even with a podcast. All of those are very important. Would you say out of all of those 8, where most do you find people going, yeah, I've got all those things in place, but actually they haven't? Are any of those the standouts for you when you're speaking with people, or is it kind of across the board?
I would say the professional profile. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people don't even own their Facebook pages.
Yeah.
And they don't know. They do not know that they do not own their pages. I get more inquiries because only when they sell or buy a business and they come to me and they go, right, we're now trying to transfer it over. They just make themselves an admin. However, they don't actually have ownership of the page. And there's that misunderstanding around it because they got their next door neighbor to set it up for them, or they got their website designer to set up for them. And they've set it, those people have set it up under their name and then just given them admin rights. And that's not the same as owning their page. And it causes major issues down the line. And the page could in fact actually be deleted and everything lost.
Wow. And so share a little bit more about that, but if someone's just an admin and they own the page, but I've heard also too that it's always good to have a second admin so that if you do get locked out, you've got the ability to still be able to get in and not locked out of your own page.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, part of your crisis management plan or reputation management plan would be to have a few admins on your page, making sure that if you were trolled or say you go on holiday or even if you're sleeping or you're not checking your Facebook, there is another pair of eyes on there. However, the owner of that page is the one who actually has ownership of that page. So unless that is being transferred across, they still have it. What they often do is they will give admin rights to the other person and then they'll remove themselves, but they actually haven't transferred the ownership across to that person.
So what has to happen to transfer ownership? But just for those people who are freaking out and thinking, I did get my neighbour or the neighbour that was there, several years ago, what do they have to do?
Well, this is the horrible thing. Most people think that they set it up themselves and they've forgotten how many years ago it was that they did it, because when they come to me, we actually don't know who did it. And that's been a huge issue trying to track who that person is. We had a real estate company who had their niece in the UK set it up, and she just removed herself and didn't actually make the other person admin, and she lost the page. So it has to happen inside the business manager account, which is a little bit techie, but you do have to track who that person is that has that page. And the thing about Facebook is they have tightened up on their privacy settings. They've tightened up on their safety. So when they start to see dodgy stuff happening, they're now going to start asking you for proof of ownership, and they actually want you to submit your name of your business. And if you don't have that, if that name doesn't match that name, they'll just go something dodgy and delete it.
Wow.
This is why when you asked me to choose out of all the 8, I was like, that's
the one that will be, all the other ones can be tweaked. But if you don't have ownership, and as we know, I mean, this is a third-party platform. Facebook gets to say whether or not we do business on that page. And, we can and ah and all of that kind of thing negatively at Facebook about putting this security on. But I think that's great, because it means that if someone is trying to hack into my account, these safety measures are in place to ensure that no one takes over. Because if you've spent a lot of time and energy and even money to build up that page, to build that brand equity on there, you don't want that to be snatched because someone's hacked into your account. Let's talk all things algorithm, that dirty A word that so many people hate and you obviously love. What do we need to know about Facebook algorithm?
I love the algorithm because if you look after the algorithm and if you understand how it works and you tickle Facebook's boxes, guess what? That algorithm is going to work for you, and we can quite easily, I say outsmart it because that's what everybody asks or wants to do, is outsmart the algorithm. But really, we can train that algorithm to work for us. And it's not that hard. It's just understanding it. So the first thing is just like I said, we need to be stalking and we need to be stalkable. Facebook is the biggest stalker out there. The only way that they can determine what goes onto your news feed is by what you input into your personal profile, how you set up your business page, and the type of content you put across Facebook, and then the things that you engage in. So the things that you like, comment, and share. Facebook is stalking you. Its algorithm is stalking you, and it is building an avatar of you to know what it is that you like and you're into, so it can show you similar stuff, because that's how it works. And that's how the algorithm works. So the algorithm has to predict what to put onto our newsfeed. So the thing is that if we correctly set up our personal profiles, and if we correctly set up our business pages, and when I say correctly, I mean correctly, because a lot of people haven't. And then on top of it, we put the right content on it. And then we go and engage in our ideal clients. Well, Facebook now straight away knows what we're into. And suddenly what happens is all that information and all the relevant stuff that you're interested in will start to appear on your news feed, so that now it is now in front of you. But guess what? It is now also in front of your ideal client, because if they are showing interest in what you're doing, and they showing interest in your content, and they're engaging in your comment, like engaging with your comments, or going to your events, or sharing your content, Facebook goes, this person really is interested in what it is what you're doing. I'm going to show them more of your stuff, and you don't have to pay for that. So the algorithm's pretty cool.
Yeah,
we've just got to do things properly, and we've just got to tick Facebook's boxes.
Yeah. Chantal, I'm just going to introduce some comments that have been going here. Awesome, VS Podcast Station. You are welcome. And Marnie, good stuff, ladies. Thank you, Marnie, for joining us. And, of course, if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, get over on LinkedIn or Facebook. We're talking Facebook again, of course, today, or across some of the other social platforms when we go live and you're able to participate. With the algorithm, then, I'd imagine that there are often things that we start to do, but what you've just said, we need to consistently do that, can't we? Don't we? We don't just do it 1 month or start doing it and then just let it drop off, because Facebook, as you said, is always stalking what we're doing and sharing, yes?
Yes. So we do it consistently for two reasons. We do it consistently for Facebook, so that we train and we keep that algorithm putting us in front of the right people. But we consistently do it as well because we're not always in front of our ideal client. People always think that if they post 3 times a day, that one person is going to see all 3 posts, and that's not how it works. So we have to be consistent on the platform so that we can be in front of more people and increase the possibility of reaching more of the right people. And it's not about just putting rubbish out there. It's not about that. It's being just consistent. And as I said, with our key messaging, with our branding, with sharing value. But at the end of the day, also letting people know that actually we are available to take appointments, or we do have a program to sell. Because a lot of people actually struggle with that social versus salesy.
When you're saying, kind of showing up regularly and providing quality content, if there's no real consistency as far as engagement is concerned, even though you may be putting out quality content that your ideal client would find valuable, they may not see it because it's not showing up on their feed. So if someone is at the stage where they know their stuff, they know that it's valuable, but they have not quite yet gotten that algorithm to click over, what would you say would be a really great place to start? Check out the insights to see what their current page, their members, their followers, their fans, whatever you want to call them, have engaged with, or what's a great place to start to get that algorithm moving?
Yeah, 100%. I think the first thing to do is definitely to have a look at the insights and then review why you are where you are. Have you bought your likes? Have you taken over a page and from somebody else, and those people on the page have been dormant for a long time? It's very hard to re-engage them or to get them up and running. It's the same with Facebook groups. Sometimes it is, in fact, better to start again, but have a plan when you start, because people start and they leave it. But you really need to have a plan and a strategy, and then start and then execute that plan. So that it's not the stop-start the whole time. But the second thing would be to go in and check and make sure that your page is set up correctly. And as I said, this is a difficult one because most people think that they have done it correctly. And many times they might be in the wrong category. They may be in the wrong category. They may not have their call to action button set up correctly. They may not have the right autoresponders in place. And those are all things that would actually stop inquiries from coming through. So you'd have to evaluate as why inquiries aren't coming through. Then looking at your content and going, okay, I'm giving lots of value, but also have you included you? Like, have you included you on your page? Because if you are a service provider, especially with service providers, and you are the person who's directly going to be coaching or working with that person, because it's a social platform, you need to show up on your page occasionally. And you need to share your story, and you need to engage with your audience. So those are things you can do on your Facebook page. But the next thing that you have to consider as part of your ongoing strategy is, one, attract people to your page and have it set up properly. But the second thing is taking that content on your page and taking your business and now finding your ideal client and putting it in front of them. And that is another part of the strategy, which is super important, that a lot of people neglect or don't do. And in fact, when they get social media managers in place, the social media managers will go on and they'll do content, but there's no growth strategy. How am I going to grow that page? How am I going to go take that page, put it in front of more of the right people, and then pull them across to where I am and then nurture them? So we have to have a strategy to do that.
Yeah, and I guess that's what you're going to talk a little bit about, how to grow that page without paying for ads, and just we were speaking about content development and sharing, which is great. So we obviously have text posts where we're writing text. We have graphic posts, so like a quote, a graphic. We can do a combination of those, and now of course we can have video, which we can upload, and we can now have lives to be able to show up live. Would you say a combination of those is good, or do you see that a quote and a text post, what's sort of working well, or a combination, as I said?
Sure, great question. So what I find is that the business owner does need to be true to themselves and what makes them happy. Some people are great writers, so they feel more comfortable writing and providing good quality written content. So it's good for them to stay in that zone because that's what they're passionate about, and that they'll be best delivered that way. If somebody's not good at lives and they're not comfortable doing a Facebook Live, that's perfectly okay. You can still do video content without having to show yourself, and there are ways to do that as well. Business owners don't need to be forced into one particular area, because what I find is that business owners are less likely to follow the strategy if it's not something that they enjoy doing. So, yes, video content work. Yes, lives work. But all of us have seen somebody do a really terrible live, and a really terrible live can actually ruin your reputation
absolutely,
and tarnish your page.
Yeah, don't do lives if you really, really frightened of doing it. I love the way that you've just reconfirmed. Do what you feel comfortable with, and then once that's working, you can start to integrate other things. Share a little bit. What's these watch parties? I mean, how do we use them, leverage them? Are they making an impact? What's going on there with the watch parties?
Sure. So whenever Facebook does something, I always go, why? What's in it for Facebook? That's my question. Because Facebook does things not for us, believe it or not. It normally does things for them. So the reason I believe that they've created Watch Party is because people stopped clicking on Facebook Lives. So in the early days when Lives was the trend, if you saw a live come through, everybody would click on. Now people see a live come through and they go, they're live again,
Yeah.
And
there's another crappy live. Unless, of course, you're watching this one. This is full of great content and insights.
So what happens is, so they click on the lives became less. Now that's going to be an issue for them because eventually what they hope is people are going to pay to boost to be able to get money, because Facebook's a business, okay? They want money for ads. So the thing about Watch Party is that you can do that Facebook Live. So, for example, I was at an expo. I was driving back from the expo. I was part of a summit, had to stop on the side of the road and do a Facebook Live because that was my speaking time to do that. And it was a Saturday midday. So the engagement, the live, didn't do that great because it was midday on a Saturday. What I did is I came home, grabbed my glass of wine, sat down in the evening. Then you can go onto Facebook and you can create a watch party. So basically, I can sit and watch my live and watch people coming into that live as well. So I can either individually invite people to watch that movie with me, or I can just put it in a group if the administrator is happy with that, because we always must respect the administrators of groups. Or I can go and put it, like say it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I can now bring that live back into my page, create a watch party and say, hey guys, watch this with me. And yes, it's from the other day, but you can watch it with me and ask questions. I'm here to answer those questions for you now.
Right, yes.
It's a way of repurposing that video content at a different time and in different areas or places.
Yes. But what I like, and I didn't realize about those watch parties, was the fact that you can also comment again, because I thought otherwise it's just resharing it. But if you're and getting the engagement and allowing people to be able to ask questions and you can respond, I can see that there's real value, because people are really using that watch party a lot as well, which is interesting. All right. I know that people are sitting with pens poised. How can they grow their fan page without paying for ads?
Okay, this is a really good one. So part of my mission statement is to help people to get clients, create income producing opportunities, and grow their business. And one of the strategies here is that creating the opportunities. The example today is myself sitting here with the lovely Annemarie. This over here is a collaboration between two people, meaning that I'm in front of her audience and she's in front of my audience. And that is one way that you can, without paying for ads, create an opportunity to grow your profile, because we potentially have the same clients, the same client avatar. However, we're not in competition with one another. So we can support each other online, share content and value, and now be in front of each other's audience. So it's a great opportunity, and one thing that people underutilize. Now, the only way that this works, obviously, is by making sure that you have your business name there. Like I've got Chantal Gerardy, Facebook strategist, and making sure that at the end or even during that you send people across to your page to check it out or to make an inquiry or to send you a message, because we have to, it's that call to action, which is vitally important. And that's probably number 2 for growing your fan page, is that many people will post valuable content, but then they don't do a call to action at the end. Now, a call to action doesn't need to be a hard sell. You can, sell and post an offer every now and then, but a call to action could be something like, do you have any questions? What are your thoughts on this? Have you found this to work in your business? So just having those call to actions at the end makes people take action to engage, so that now if they're engaging, they're now going to be in front of your audience because of that algorithm and how that algorithm works.
Yes.
So that call to action is super, 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 super important. The third thing you can do is you can invite your personal friends on your personal profile to like your page. So if you're on a desktop and you scroll down on the right-hand side, there's a little button there that it says invite your friends. And you can click on that and it'll say to you that these are your friends on your personal profile. Who would you like to invite to like your Facebook page? Now, again, because we're trying to train the algorithm, for example, if you're a Gold Coast-based business, a service-based business, and yet your family is living in America, it's not really, you wouldn't go in and tick America, because now your audience is you're now sending people away rather towards you. So going in and ticking key people who you think would be valuable in your algorithm on your friends list to do it. So one of the things you'll see people doing is going, oh, Facebook's got this new thing, go into community and invite people to like your page. But if they're not your audience, what we're really doing is messing with that algorithm. So
we are. Yeah, because I think what people don't realize is similarly to the strategy that you mentioned. Well, it's not really a strategy. It will ruin your algorithm, buying likes. So you might have, we'll just say for the case and purpose of this example, 1,000 likes. But if 800 of those likes have been purchased and they're not your ideal client and they're not going to ever engage, as you continue to share, Facebook's algorithm will go, well, the content that you're posting, no one's engaging with it. So obviously it's low quality. We're not going to share that to other people. That's what happens when we invite other people. We're not really following a strategy, yes?
Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, I've caught out a lot of agencies who have, when a client has brought me on board to have a look at their insights, we've gone into their insights and all their engagement and everything is coming from the Philippines and not from here. This happened to a travel agency in Southport on the Gold Coast. They kept saying, yeah, we've got engagement, we've got leads, but when we went in and had a look, they were actually getting outside people to do it. And also these pods. I don't know if you've heard of pods. People get together pods where everybody likes and engages in each other's stuff. For me, I understand why they're doing it, but if they're not the right people, again, we're messing with that algorithm. What I prefer to do, and this is, I think it's number 4 now, is to create cheerleaders. Now, cheerleaders happen anyway. So, for example, right now, we are each other's cheerleaders. We've met online. We're cheerleaders. I love what you do. You love what I do. And if anybody's asking for podcast help, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tag you in that post. But that is a genuine, meaningful referral that happens.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to do those ourselves, know how to find them, and then also know how to reply to those and convert those.
Yes.
That's a great way, again, to grow your fan page, is to have cheerleaders online.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that StreamYard is now allowing LinkedIn comments. It's so exciting. So Fred Gillen, thank you for sharing this question. Fantastic. Which is better to promote, your profile, your page, or your group? Great question, Fred.
Great question, Fred. Thank you so much. Look, it does depend on the business. And it does depend on the overall intention and then the strategy. Like we said earlier, you don't want to be doing everything. I get inquiries that come through my personal profile. I get inquiries that come through my page. I get inquiries that come through groups. So it does depend on your overall strategy. If it's all overwhelming for you, just have a simple strategy. You don't need to have it all. If you just want to focus on growing your page, then do that and do it well. And if you want to keep your personal profile more private, by all means, go and do that. But there are many people that are using their personal profile and quite effectively to generate clients and leads, or even to evoke inquiries coming through. What you don't need to do is go and set up 1,000 different groups and just be funneling people, because it seems to be a thing that people do on Facebook, where they take people from a page and then put them in a group, and then from the group try and get them to another group, and then back to the page, and then off to the website. And it's like, it's too hard.
What I did, this is last year, Chantal, I listed all of the, what I call digital assets, the platforms, and I listed them down. And as I looked at them, I asked myself, what feeling do I get when I look at it? If it was I'm just not going to hang out there. And I actually amalgamated 2 of the groups, and because they're both the same people, just one was focused more on podcasting, the other was more on change makers, but they're the same people, because many of them want to have a podcast. And so that's where we really look at, what are all of these different groups and things? Why am I creating them? And can I bring them together and really serve them well? Because when we serve them well, and this is everything that you were saying, provide quality content, bring your own story in there, if you're happy to do lives or a pre-recorded video, whatever it is, continue to do that. And that's going to nurture those relationships, and you're going to be the person that people reach out to when they're ready to make that decision, yes?
Yeah. And when you do, whenever someone comes to me and they go, I've got all these groups and my first question to them is, do you make any money from any of this?
Yeah.
And I always get a no. And I'm like, well, what's the point of the group? So they're probably not enjoying being there. You're not enjoying doing it. It's not a meaningful thing. So step out of it, step back, come up with a strategy of how this is actually going to work, meaning how you're going to actually get inquiries. Set up your group properly with clear descriptions of what the intention is for yourself and what the intention is for the person, or their responsibility when they come in. And when those have been defined from the beginning, the group, because people actually love rules, believe it or not, it gives them something to hold on. It gives them boundaries, and it gives them an understanding. But when people put people into groups and there is no clear guidelines, and people go, I don't even know why I'm here. This is just like a place to dump your info. Then that's what people will do. It'll become spammy, and it won't become a meaningful way for you to develop relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Kim Seiden, thanks for some great insights to tune into on my way to work, ladies. You are so welcome, Kim. Oh, Chantal, we could probably keep talking forever. And I'm sure from what you've shared, it's so valuable. You've really only scratched the surface. And information is great, but as you said early on, it really depends too on your business, what your outcome is. And we said already, start with the end in mind. So for people who realize, you know what, the things that Chantal has been saying, I think I've only really gotten 1 or 2 of those things in place. What's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
I'd love it if they jump onto my website and subscribe, because each week we send out podcast interviews. We send out free training resources. And there is also an opportunity to book a one-to-one call with me to find out how I can better help you in your business. So my website is www.chantalgerardy.com.au.
Fantastic. Yes. I mean, Facebook, as we said earlier when we started, you either hate it or you love it. But when you do it well, you're really building relationships. And I think that's what it's all about. We have to have that mindset shift of these are people who are on this platform, and if I'm able to create a level of engagement and real quality content and serve, whatever we do is going to work, because people will want to hang out, but they'll want to stalk us. And if we've got that right call to action in place, they will, when they're ready, take that next step. So Chantal, thanks again for sharing your brilliance. Loved it. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Industry Thought Leader Podcast, brought to you by Industry Thought Leader Academy. Stand out, be heard, influence. Want to stand out, be heard, and become an influential voice in your industry? Access our free 5-day money, marketing, and mindset boost masterclass. Go to www.industrythoughtleaderacademy.com/masterclass. That's industrythoughtleaderacademy.com/masterclass.